Good morning, everybody. Can't hear me. Good morning. Is that better? Got mic on? And it's the big green button, right? That goes next. Thank you. They're all different clickers. Good morning. So glad to see everybody. My name is Jane Lacey. I am obviously with Amazon Web Services. I have been with the company in public sector for nearly 6 years now. I think that's dog years for 100 years, but it has been an exciting day every day. I started out in contracts. Teresa Carlson asked me to come over. We had 0 contracts for AWS public sector. And as probably most of you in here are tied somewhat to procurement or contracting, you're going, how you can't do public sector business without contracts, right? That's right. And somehow I was very naive and thought that should be a no-brainer, right? No, that's not a no-brainer. And almost 6 years later, it was a very, very challenging task to get contracts in place. Not only was it just about the contract in place, we had to figure out how to educate you, our customer, as to how this new technology called cloud works. And we had to educate our own internal folks at Amazon Web Services, because at the end of the day, we're a commercial company. We're a commercial offering, and all the terms and conditions, the way that the console works, it's put your credit card in, click on I agree, and you're off to the races. Well, in public sector, that's a very different world, right? So anyway, long story short, we've been very successful at getting contracts in place, shaping procurements, educating our consumers, educating our customers, educating our own internal house. We still have a long ways to go. My colleagues just gave a fantastic presentation on actually, when you look at those terms and conditions, how does it equate to how Amazon Services works? And we actually did a demo of the console because, as an example, encryption. You know, many times a procurement will say, you, the provider, are responsible for encrypting the data. And actually on the console, there's a little checkbox. So you, the customer, gets to choose if you can do that encryption. So an excellent one presentation before me. Anyway, so on with that, I'm going to talk about, get started today with cloud-ready contracts, right? 5.5 years later, we do have some contracts in place. But I would remiss to just start there, right? Because I'm sure there are many of you in the room that are just getting started with cloud today as well. I got to get y'all moving here. I know that you've already had breakfast, been to the expo hall, appreciate the early day. How many of you have opened an AWS account? That's awesome. And for those of you who don't, we have a free tier, so please feel like you can open an account without, oh my heavens, I've left the water on and it's running, you know, out of control. So please do that. How many of you are at least a registered Amazon Web Services partner? Awesome. Okay, how many of you have dealt with a contract about cloud, whether it's Amazon or somebody else's cloud? Fantastic. And of those that raised their hands, was it a challenge or it was easy peasy? That's because we've been helping you a long time. Okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. You got to have some baseline here. What the heck is cloud? Well, it's not you buying physical assets, okay? Cloud is pay-as-you-go. Cloud is self-service. You get to determine what you want. You get to determine how you upload your data, where you store your data, in which region, if you encrypt it or not. If it's not cloud and traditional hardware, software, that's a physical asset that you procure, you own, you amateurize. You got to come up with big bucks to buy it, right? And a traditional looking IT procurement. So that's the difference. Try to keep it as simple as that to get started, okay? We all know when you get into the terms and conditions, it looks very different, right? Who even uses it? An eye chart of folks that are using cloud. Are they all in? Probably not. There's not too many that are all in. Of course, that's our ultimate goal here at Amazon Web Services, but we certainly understand that that's a long way off, right? This is new. Do you remember the day as IT specialists? I don't even know how many years. I'll get all the years wrong, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when virtualization was the new technology. Go back even further, when mainframes were the new technology, right? Each time, we bring about change, innovation. It's tough, right? It's a crossroads. You have to make certain determinations. What's best for you, your business, your company, your customer, right? Yesterday, I was meeting with the partners. We had a partner boot camp, and first and foremost, I had to explain to them that even though they are an Amazon partner, a valued Amazon partner, I run the U.S. Emerging Partner Team, so my partners are my customer. Each of my partners has customers, and certainly my colleagues in sales, they have end customers. But we are a customer-obsessed company, and therefore we each have to be very clear about who our customer is, internally and externally, so that we can be assured that we're helping them out to the best of our ability. So just an eye chart of who's who. I try to weave in some customer experiences, because without you, we wouldn't exist, right? And this is what we do here at Amazon Web Services. We provide cloud. That's all we do. We're not a diversified portfolio of 100 different types of things, although we do have 100 different types of services, thankfully, for you to benefit from. This is a great example of the New York City Department of Transportation, all the things that they're doing utilizing Amazon Web Services. We say it's powered by Amazon Web Services. Unfortunately, one of the catalysts that brought this customer to us was Hurricane Sandy. I don't like that was the reason, but it was a catalyst, and their basement was going to flood. Their basement is where their data center sits. And they gave us a call about 2 hours before Sandy hit land and said, I don't think it's going to go so well for us. Help us get the most critical applications moved now. We literally put some solution architects on the phone with them. We got 15% of their most critical applications moved to the cloud, and about 6 hours later, they were 6 feet under in water. So it's a really awesome customer story. All of these are online on our website. Please feel free to go out and take a look. All right, historically, cloud procurements. We had an awesome customer from the UK on the last panel that created the G-Cloud framework. And through many iterations, I think they're on number 10 now, if I'm correct, they've improved it each and every time. This circle, I love this circle because it reflects that we're all trying to come up with a framework example of how can we all agree on something, right? The problem is, historically, we do that to cover everything. And then they said, oh, there's some differences and uniquenesses with cloud. Okay, let's add the cloud terms to that first all-encompassing base. Then we want to have some hybrid because we're still going to use our data center, going to use some cloud. And then, oh gosh, let's throw in the kitchen sink because then we're covered, right? Unfortunately, again, that's not going to get you the benefits of the cloud, right? Again, this is all we do is provide this pay-as-you-go infrastructure for you to utilize. You're providing the applications, or you're building the applications on top of it. So we want to get rid of this type of structure and get to a very simplistic structure. So the next few things I'm going to talk about are the elements that we think are a good practice. They're certainly not the gold standard, but they're things for you to think about when you start looking at a procurement or shaping a procurement. What is a successful cloud procurement strategy? It focuses on application level, performance-based requirements that prioritize workloads and outcomes rather than dictating the underlying methods, infrastructure, or hardware used to achieve performance requirements. And I read that because what the heck does that mean? It means that in a traditional IT RFP or RFI or any kind of procurement, traditionally you would say, I need servers, that are blade servers that have 8 megabytes of RAM, and I'll get all this wrong because I'm certainly not technical, but RAM, the types of VGA cards that can do bells and whistles, be purple on Sunday, and be here by Sunday, and give me some maintenance, right? Oh, and some shrink wrap software. When you buy cloud, you're only paying for what you use. You want to be transparent. And so how do you get to a procurement? Because the procurement officer says, I've got to have an apples-to-apples comparison. Well, we're to the point now in this thing called cloud that it's going to be challenging to get to an apples and apples. You've got to enable your users to have the flexibility to get the services that are going to be the right fit for your organization. So that's what we're going to talk about next. If I can move forward. To make it even easier, on our website, we've worked really hard since feedback from last year's summit, and we've actually created a portal out on our website. This is the URL to get to it, and there's actually a video behind that when you go click on it on your own PC. Please take a few minutes. There's actually tabs that guide you through this scenario. It's a booklet. If I could have printed them and burned up some trees, it would have been pretty thick with information. But it's really the combination of our procurement information that we've gathered over the last 6 years. So please jot that URL down. It's an awesome tool to use once you've walked away and said, what the heck did she say? Okay. Building a cloud-centric procurement. Again, no ownership of physical assets. We own them, okay? Let us take on that responsibility, that onerous job of buying, put together, building, racking, and stacking. Is that really what y'all's job? That's what your focus is racking and stacking? Your organization is probably saving lives, figuring out how to put out fires, government programs, all sorts of public interest things. Yes, your job may be racking and stacking, but that's not what your organization's charter is, right? That is what our charter is. We now do this at scale, racking and stacking, building the most efficient server on the planet so that we can give those benefits to you to do what's best for your organization and your customer. Global data center redundancy. I think we have 13 regions across the globe. Most of us in this room can't take that data outside of the US. Most of us can't take the data out of the state in some areas. Canada, we just put a region up in Canada because they have data sovereignty laws. The data couldn't leave Canada. So we built a region in Canada, and now the Canadian folks, their government entities, can keep their data in Canada and still enjoy the benefits of cloud. Massive scalability. We call them regions. There are actually multiple data centers in each of those regions. There are availability zones in each of the data centers in each of the regions. The scalability, even within a single region, is monumental. It is massive. You can have redundancy even within a data center. Most of us in government, as I indicated in my New York City example, the data center is in the basement. It's across a river where the river can flood. It's somewhere where it's not necessarily the greatest working environment for a data center. That's not where ours are located. This is what we do best for your best interest. I wanted to talk about a cloud-first policy. We were really fortunate to have awesome public policy folks. The state of Texas, well, the federal government actually several years ago adopted a cloud-first policy. What does that mean? It means we want you to think about cloud before you refresh your $1 billion of hardware. Maybe some of it needs to still be refreshed. Maybe you need to increase your server load. But think about what this new application that I've just procured for my agency, instead of buying 100 new servers to make it work, could that application be running in the cloud instead? Or the failing servers over here, instead of replacing them, can those applications be put in the cloud? It does not have to be an all or none decision. Just think cloud first. So the state of Texas last week, or this week even, We worked real hard with them. The state of Texas has a cloud procurement, a successful cloud procurement. They're on their second round of it, in fact. They were one of the first ones to create a cloud procurement. And they adopted a cloud-first policy this week, made it law. So now each of their entities have got to take a look at that first before they go out and spend billions of dollars on hardware. When you're trying to shape a procurement, David, again, before me, for those of you that you were in here, we're having functionality increased, advanced, progressed, innovated 3 to 5 times a day. 3 to 5 times a day, we get an announcement that we've done this thing to Kinesis that makes it better. We've done this thing to Redshift to now we can tweak it here and tweak it there. Compared to 2010, when we had 61 advancements in our technology, over 1,000 just this year, and we're in June. I think we'll be well over 2,000 by the end of the year. What does that mean, right? Because in some people's minds, it's like, well, I can't keep up. Okay, that's okay. That's not okay. But you don't have to keep up with everything, right? But knowing that we're looking out for the technology and you don't, that's the point. We're taking the manpower, the financial investment in technology to make it better, not you. You don't have to have that investment. You need to have the learnings in that investment so that you can take advantage of it. But you don't have to put out the financial outlay to make that happen. Engaging key stakeholders early and often. This can be, of course, your C-level folks, the CIO, the CEO, the CTO, right? But they're busy folks. They've got a lot to do. They've got to go talk to the Senate. They've got to go to the legislatures to do what they've got to do. This is also the people in the organization that do these jobs, right? It's the database administrator. You know, he needs to be in on this decision as well. So please think about all of the stakeholders that this new cloud technology conversation touches, how it will affect them, because not only is there decisions to be made, it's change management. And if you're anything like me, you know, change is tough, right? Nobody wants to make a change that's possibly going to affect their job. But we've really been working, we are on our education side of the house, tremendous amount of education that folks can take to advance their own careers, from a on-premise infrastructure type database administrator to being a cloud database administrator. Okay? A customer story. Claritas Genomics was one of our first customers to utilize the cloud for HIPAA data. HIPAA data, it's health data, right? Of course, very sensitive data. So you have to be very concerned when you're talking about the cloud, security. They were one of the first ones to say, hey, Amazon, we need a business associates agreement so that we can architect to secure this HIPAA data in your cloud. So we work with Claritas to make that happen, and now a couple of years later, that business associates agreement process is smoothed out. We've got hundreds and thousands of customers now running HIPAA workloads, but Claritas was one of the first ones, and they're a public sector customer. Reframing the RFP process. Well, I can stand up here all day long and tell you this. You can talk to your colleagues about it. We can put up the web pages. We can put up the banner in the airport. But who better to listen to than a third-party person, third-party company like Gartner or Forrester? These are really important aspects of a public solicitation. Get the information from the third party. Now, this particular graph is just infrastructure as a service, but they have disaster recovery as a service, data services. Utilize the tools of your third-party auditors to help you make your good, best decisions when it comes to new technologies, and incorporate that into your RFPs. You know, who made the top right of the quadrant, or when you're putting your specifications into your RFP. We've come up with some questions and how to ask. And in that URL where I said we've put this all on a web page, these tips and tricks for questions of how to frame your RFPs are in that. So please take a look at that. Cloud providers should have certifications and accreditations for workloads that matter to public sector customers. All right. are government requirements. Our federal government has them. Our states have a version of them or their own. Cities, counties, schools, our great public sector, we love our compliance, right? Nobody wants to hit the front page of the paper unless it's a really good thing, right? Certainly not for a bad thing. So there are many, many, many standards of compliance that have been created. Amazon Web Services has developed an entire team of folks that went out and made a really best effort at what are the top ones? What matters most to the scale? This is what we feel that they are, and we comply. Where we didn't comply, we have made changes to comply. And we have people watching the mark on these all day long. Our voluntary, our VPAT assessment, which is around 508 standards, my colleague and I, in fact, we're just working with the team this week. It only changes every about 4 or 5 years, and we were to the point where it needed to be adjusted. So the team of folks in Seattle that work the compliance, they were working with the government officials, looked at the new regulations. We actually had to tweak some documentation, get recertified, and then we push out the new documentation for you, the customer, to then utilize. Because almost every public procurement that I see says, do you have your VPAT? Are you 508 compliance? FedRAMP is a new one, right? The federal government now has come up with FedRAMP compliance. I'm seeing solicitations out there that say if you want to be a player in this RFP, you've got to be using a platform that is FedRAMP certified. Here we go. It's FedRAMP certified. So pay attention to what it is. So the next question out of your mind should be, wait a second, I'm in the state of New York. The state of New York has its own set of requirements. And obviously they're not going to be up here, right? Because our business works and runs the same way for every customer in the globe. Our service is not customized just for the state of New York. Well, so how do you handle that then, right? We, Amazon Web Services, would go and meet with the folks that created that state of New York security compliance, and we would compare and contrast those requirements to these, right? And probably 100% of the time, you can correlate it to something that we've already achieved. It's just not stamped as state of New York, right? So that's our job, to work with those public entities so that they can have assurance that our platform does meet that. All right, understanding that security is a shared responsibility. I love this slide because it articulates what AWS is, right? We have the infrastructure layer. We have the platform. We have the servers, right? You all, we have developed tools that you can build off, building blocks, or you can bring in your own application and run it on Amazon. So on the left are the types of things that we're responsible for when it comes to securing the infrastructure. The next box is what you, the customer, is responsible for. The operating systems, the patching, authorization policies, setting up the security on your account. We can leave it, it's not up to us to leave your server wide open. It's up to you to leave it wide open. Is that something you want to do? Absolutely not. You want to keep that server closed down. But again, it's your choice. It's your choice. The most important thing on here is that customers retain control of what security they choose to implement to protect their own content, platform, applications, systems, and networks. This is no different than what you would do for your applications on your on-premise data center, right? In your own on-premise data center, you are responsible for those things. That does not change when you're using the cloud. You just don't have to deal with the server breaking down or the server getting wet when the floor got flooded. That's what we deal with. And we make sure that if that happens in one of ours, that you're already backed up, that it was seamless. Nothing happened to your data, okay? Cloud pricing, that's another attribute of a public procurement, right? They generally, historically, want cloud procurements to have a price. Price doesn't change. And what is my discount? And we'll come talk about it 5 years later when the solicitation expires, right? Okay, well, during those 5 years, we've lowered our price probably 10 times. You didn't get to take advantage of that price decrease. We've added 5,000 new features. You didn't get to take advantage of those new features. So you're still sitting here using an advanced technology without using all the advancements. How does that benefit you? It doesn't. So you might as well stick with your on-premise, right? Well, you don't want to do that either, because you had to refresh that after 5 years, and it cost you billions of dollars versus the pennies on a dollar that your cloud procurement could have gotten you. So at some point in this dialogue, some point in this thought process, you have to find the middle ground. We're just merely providing suggestions and tools to help you in that conversation. Transparency, we've figured out, is really critical. When we've talked to procurement officers, they're absolutely bowled over the fact that the price list that we have out there on our website is the price list. It's not the government price list. It's not the education price list. It is the price list that every one of our customers use to buy AWS. We have some discounted items out there. You can buy reserved instances at a discount. If you meet the storage thresholds, you've now gotten into some additional discounts. If there's commitment to spend, there's additional discounts. But that is the price, and that's transparency. And I have to believe that our government customer is appreciative of that because they know exactly what they're paying for. Pay per use. Again, it's pay for what you use, right? You're not boxed into, I need $10,000 worth of cloud, period, end of story. What if you only use 10 cents? Why would you want the firm fixed price at 10 grand and you spend 10 grand and you only spent 10 cents? Again, leave it transparent, leave it flexible. Single line item structure. You'll see in a minute in a slide where we now, again, have advanced the technology to where there's many, 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 many SKUs. And all of us in public procurement always used to gather our catalogs up of our wares and stick it out there on the web page and said, here we go, this is what we offer. And every 12 months, I'll tell you the new things that we offer and the old things that we've deprecated. All right, we want to make this as simple and seamless as possible to our end users because, again, the benefit of taking advantage of the technology as it is released, right? So I'll give you an example. This is what we look like probably yesterday and not today. This is all the offerings. When I started 6 years ago, we literally had the infrastructure layer, the core services, the security, and a scattering of what's above. This is only going to increase, folks, or the functionality is going to increase to the depths of you can make a decision about buying a solution that's prepackaged or building it so that you have a custom solution. Or our partners come into play that have created awesome solutions and power it and weave it in and out of these solutions. This represents probably 100,000 SKUs. I don't know where my folks are in contracts to tell me how many SKUs, but it's a lot. There you go. It's a lot. 89,000 SKUs. How does one keep up with that? We're trying to help you to educate our folks in government procurement so that you don't have to keep up with 89,000 SKUs. We're still working on that, aren't we, Richard? This is ideally what we would love to see on every procurement as, please give us this is the pricing section of the procurement. This is how we see how it should be responded to. This is ideal state. I've actually witnessed some procurements that have gotten there. Yes, there are many that still don't, but we're working on that. And you can help us with that. Okay? This is ideal. Cloud service provider versus a managed service provider. This is where we get into my sweet spot, right? I manage the U.S. Emerging Partner Team. I have a couple thousand partners who are new to public sector or they're new to this technology. They're coming from the commercial world and want to dive into our government, helping our government customers. A cloud service provider generally has the infrastructure again, and I'm beating that like a dead horse, right? We have the infrastructure. We have built the tools the building block of tools for you to develop your own applications or to utilize one of our incredible valued partners to help build that solution that meets your customers' needs, right? So if you were to come to me and say, Jane, I really want to use Amazon, but I don't have the technical staff to build that data lake. Okay, I can certainly provide you with some solution architect assistance to talk about the data lake, to find out more of the requirements that you're thinking about, to maybe help determine, do you want to utilize the tools that Amazon has provided? Maybe those tools still aren't adequate enough. So then let's have that conversation about, can I introduce you to one of our partners that builds data lakes all day long? Maybe that solution is a better solution for you. Those are the types of conversations that we have every day. The part of the conversation around, well, Jane, can Amazon just build that data lake for me? Sorry, that's not our expertise, right? We build the tools for you to build the data lake, okay? So that's where our partners come in, and we then say, and or training. We got lots of training to help you get the education to build a data lake. Or here's our partner ecosystem, and I'm happy to make those introductions. So that's the difference. And I'll interject one more thing, because we have a couple of different types of partners, and it's important to, I think, to draw them out. We have a managed service provider. They can be as little as finding that data lake solution for you, building it for you, managing it for you. They're kind of the all-in kitchen sink provider. Then you have a reseller. A reseller, as an example, I'm a government customer. I still want you to manage my environment, but I want to be able to get into my AWS account and input and load and unload data. So I need access to the account. I want to be able to spin up some EC2 instances, some servers. Once that third party has access to the AWS account to be able to provision the Amazon services, you as a managed service provider or consulting partner are acting in the capacity of a reseller. And we want to ensure that you're properly taken care of from an Amazon perspective. So there's some additional paperwork that we like to have and be able to teach you some best practices in how to do resell. Because once you give access to an account, what happens? Did they leave the door wide open? Was it secured? You as the partner need to ensure that that account is locked down, okay? Then we also have our technical partners, our ISVs, right? They're the Adobes, the Infors, the New Relics. They are creating technologies that go well beyond what we've created, and they're bringing them to you to implement into your business, into your to your usage every day. So really great partner ecosystem. And speaking of, on the left side is a little bit about my partner ecosystem. These folks, most of them prime contracts where you can get to AWS services, really important aspect. Not many of our partners hold these contracts, so we have to take really good care of them, take good care of all of our partners, but each of them have a special thing that they do, right? And then we have the marketplace. What's the marketplace? It is a place where on the web you can go and choose to buy Citrix software for 10 minutes. You can buy Adobe software for 20 minutes and only pay for the 20 minutes. Okay? Significant price difference from the $1 million you spend on the annual license. That, oh, did anybody use it? Yes, 2 people used it. But I bought 100 licenses. Next time, go out to the AWS Marketplace, pull down the licenses when you need them for the time period that you need them, instead of buying the annual license. We have a public sector contracts page. This session was about ready contracts, right? We're getting to that point. This is where the ready-made contracts are documented, okay? This is just a sampling of what's up there. We have federal contracts, state and local contracts, education contracts, all of which are held by our partners. They're awesome partners for doing this, and they are awesome partners in the services that they deliver every day. So please take down that URL, and you can go out and see the GSA schedule, NASA SOUP, the NASPO Value Point Cloud in our state, local government, and education region. Each of these are hyperlinked to the partner, so you can get exactly to the partner information, and or you can get to my team, the procurement team, the capture team, to help you to get to those contract pathways, to get to AWS, if you need a competitive contract vehicle. Just a couple of last things. These are, I wanted to talk about what a cloud-ready contract that we've worked many years at encapsulating all the things that I've just talked about. NASPO Value Point is one of those. Because it incorporates more services than what Amazon has, we didn't necessarily go after it ourselves, but again, we have 12 awesome partners that did, and they're listed down there. It's for infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, SaaS, software as a service. 11 of our partners are government authorized resellers, so they can get our customers their own account utilizing this competitive procurement. There are also managed service providers that can provide the total management of the AWS environment if that's what the customer so chooses. Again, URL to this contract, it is an IDIQ, which is indefinite quantity, indefinite delivery. What does that mean? It's a license to hunt. It's not a commitment to spend type contract. But the good news is this competitive vehicle takes care of your procurement check marks, right? So that you can get to Amazon without having to go out to bid. That's the goal, right? That takes time, money, energy. No one wants to write the RFP response 2 days before Christmas, right? Because that's when they come out. All right, that's a really good example of a good cloud-friendly contract. State of Texas, like I indicated early, these guys, they get it. Yeah, it was hard, it was arduous, it took 9 months to go through and do the education, but they get it now. They're on their second round of this particular contract. Again, it's an IDIQ. It is, the state of Texas does own and manage that contract. However, they allow other public entities outside of the state of Texas to piggyback off of it. They call it the interlocal agreement. How awesome is that, right? We actually have a couple of customers that have taken advantage of that. Before some of these other contract vehicles came into play, they adopted the state of Texas interlocal agreement. It can be a singular public entity. It could be a state. It's just got to be a public entity. So they adopt the T's and C's of this. Again, I've wove in City of McKinney, and I actually had a customer yesterday that was from McKinney in my audience. This was fantastic. Small town, you could probably call it a suburb of Dallas, right? Their job is to take care of their citizens, right? Make sure they have the fire department, the ambulance, the library services, health care. Their job is not the expert at running the local data center, which probably was a couple of cabinets, right? But yet those services, they were having to look at their data center and say, this is no longer meeting the demands of my services that I have to provide to my community, to the city of McKinney. And somebody finally stepped up and said, we need to look at cloud. So they brought in a bunch of Amazon folks. Utilizing the state of Texas DIR contract, they were able to go straight to a purchase order, and now they're all in on AWS. And now they do not have to watch the blinky lights anymore. They don't have to hug their server every day when they come in and when they go home. They can focus on the key services that they're providing to the citizens of the city of McKinney, Texas. All right, questions? And if there are no questions, I know that all of you are my advocate for cloud procurement and that you're going to go off and do this successfully. Yes, question? Well, you can click through and buy, and that's agreeing to the terms and conditions on the website. But if you can't do that, if there are governing law issues, venue, things like that, you get in touch with your Amazon account manager, and we work through what are the differences or uniquenesses that we need to adjust in the online contract. And it's the Amazon Web Services Customer Agreement. It's online. The URL is out there. You can see the 14 items. And and then let us know what you can't live with in those terms, and we'll see what we can do. That makes sense? Or you can use one of those contracts on my contracts page and get to Amazon that way through one of our incredible partners. Yes? The Army accent, it's pretty new, and so my bad. It's not on there yet, I don't believe. It's owned by many of our partners. What else? Correct. It's a resold contract, right? So by utilizing the Army Accent Contract Vehicle, which meets the competitive procurement rules, you would go to one of those partners, and they're all listed out there on the web page, and then you would contract with one of them. They're going to provide you the AWS account and or services that you want to use on AWS. That's how that would work. You can pick whichever one you want, whichever partner you want to use. And I would encourage you then to utilize our Partner Finder tool on our Advanced Partner Network part of the web page, and to determine what differentiators those partners have, because one may do this really well, one may do this really well, and it's a true requirements project on your part. What are you needing the partner to do for you? If you just need to get to AWS, straight resell, there are several of those partners on there that they're willing to just do straight resell. And I would encourage you to be meeting with somebody at Amazon to help you to review those choices. Make sense? And we can certainly talk offline. I'm not an expert on Army accent, but I think there are some folks on my team that are in the room that I can grab that helps with that. Yes? Mm-hmm. Yep. Right. It's all about scope. And if your procurement officer agrees with what you've just indicated, I say go for it. It's all about scope. And they know the rules better than we do, right? It's their rules, not ours. Yes. Awesome. Awesome. And two, when you're going for a solution, it's easier too when you're going for a solution that's running in the cloud, because the solutions generally already have a historic contract in place. And if you can convince the contracting officer, it doesn't matter if it's running in that server or this server over here, contract still applies. Very good point. Very good point. Thank you. I think somebody else over here had a question. Yes. Limitations. Well, I know you get 750 hours of server time a year, but then there are also some limitations around the services. Not the entire slide of services is available under that free tier, so I would encourage you to read the fine print on that one. But it does get you a really good start of spinning up some T1 instances and having an S3 bucket for a long time. Just getting familiar with the console, right? Because where's that box that said I wanted to encrypt my files? Where's that box that said I want to lock everything down and not let anything go over the general internet? I want to learn about Direct Connect. It gets you familiar with the AWS console, the free tier does. And 750 hours is worth, you can do a lot with 750 hours. But I know that there are some services that aren't included in that. But it's in the fine print. Yes. You're welcome. Uh-huh. The state of Texas contract encapsulates all 5,000 public entities and private education. So it's a statewide master that all of the public entities within the state of Texas can utilize it. And how Texas works is their procurement division, the Department of Information Resources, they manage that master agreement. But then like City of McKinney, they had nothing to do with the creation of that base contract. They just get to benefit from it. And because the terms and conditions have already been negotiated at that master level, they literally would create a purchase order with a single line item of AWS services and send it to us for us to review and accept. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, I wasn't putting there. There is an admin fee. Yes, there is an admin fee on that contract, and that pays for the administration of the contract. Is that, am I getting it? They, yes, they had some, they have 2%, I'm sorry, I think it's 0.75. Yes, yes, they act as the, and that pays for their administrative function to run that contract. And the NASPO Value Point contract, it also has an administration fee. Most big consortium or statewide contracts do put some type of administration fee on the master contract because it encapsulates so many users. Hey, Chris in the back. That's correct. In our direct agreement, we have a direct agreement with Texas, along with 5 of our partners have their own direct agreement. Whoever the service provider is, the vendor holding that master, pays that fee based upon sales. And it's list price off of our contract. Our partners have chosen other discounting structures, and how they pay that fee is up to them. Does that answer the question? Sorry, I'm dense on that. Yep. Yes. Yeah. Right. But right. Right. And now we're actually seeing some states, like California, who are wanting to have their contract vehicle managed by central IT. And central IT is saying, I will manage the AWS account, and I will manage all the children accounts underneath. So I'm going to give you a single PO based upon this statewide contract, and central IT will do all this administrative work. So it's being done different ways. So take advantage of your relationship with your customer and talk through what their requirements are, what they think their requirements are going to be. How do they do it today? How would they like to see it done tomorrow? How does that procurement look? So you can help shape what those potential admin fees are, how they're played out, and who can take advantage financially or not. Good questions, really good questions. Anything further? We have an awesome lineup of sessions today and tomorrow. We sincerely appreciate you taking time out of work and to spend this time with us at Amazon. The keynote with Werner Vogel is next. He is an amazing speaker and innovator here at Amazon. So please head to, I believe it's Hall E, and get a good seat for Werner's keynote. And thank you again.